Today I've got something a bit different, both in terms of my usual postings and in terms of the build being showcased here today. It's a Stasis Titan build, and before you ask, no, it doesn't involve Hoarfrost. That's been done to death. We're doing something a bit different, something unique, something fun, something requiring a playstyle quite different to the usual Stasis Titan. Welcome to the Frost Lancer. This build revolves around the Cadmus Ridge, Lance Cap, and the use of Diamond Lances. There's some special things that you can do with this build that I'd like to spend some time talking about, so let's quickly cover the armor mods and class setup. For our subclass, we're taking Tectonic Harvest and Diamond Lance. Truthfully, the Lance Cap itself makes the Diamond Lances without this aspect, but it gives a bit more flexibility on how we make them, and it has an extra fragment slot that comes in handy, so I take it. For fragments, Conduction, Fissures, Shards, Rending, and Rhyme. This gives us tracking stasis shards, boosted crystal damage, grenade recharge, bonus damage to frozen targets and crystals, and a small amount of healing when picking up a shard. Truthfully, Rhyme and Rending could be swapped out for Dealer's Choice, but I found that the ease of breaking crystals and the small amount of healing received saved my bacon more than I initially thought when I equipped them. For armor mods, we're setting up for weapon damage. Heavy Finder and Siphon, Reload and Bolstering Detonation, charged up with Melee and AoE Resist, Double Surge and Elemental Charge, and finally for our class item, Reaper, Time Dilation, and Bomber. This all will give us armor charge when we pick up crystals and ensure we're also making orbs for us and the team. The only thing here that's really out of the ordinary is Elemental Charge, and you really want this. We're making so many crystals and don't need to get any kills to get them, so even if you're unable to constantly capture orbs, you'll almost always have armor charge for your surge. The most important stat here is resilience, since at 100 your rally barricade comes back as soon as the first one comes down. After that I simply go discipline, then recovery. 100 resilience is definitely the main chase though. Finally, any weapon works here, as the build itself does most of the heavy lifting. Your best bet is probably a high damage primary, things like Revision 0, Outbreak, even Quicksilver. I recommend something at least burst fire, as you need 2 or 3 headshots to make a lance, and with something like a bow or a scout, that could potentially be pretty annoying. You don't even need an exotic. Anything with kinetic tremors works wonders, and you can also use anything with headstone just to add to the carnage. Don't forget to also take stasis related artifact perks. They're not required, but if you've got the space for them, you might as well take advantage of them. One final note is that during the current season, if you use a solar weapon, you can stack some of the artifact perks to get radiant and cause ignitions, further adding to the spectacle. Again, not needed, but if you're looking to min-max, the option is there. Alright, so now that the boring stuff is out of the way, how does the build actually play? This is a very versatile build and revolves around the use of our Diamond Lances. You can make them next to you by landing headshots behind a rally barricade, which is nice if you're in tougher content, but also getting any stasis kill will also create one, with the only caveat being that they will be created where the enemy was defeated. Regardless of how you make a lance though, they will all create a stasis crystal on impact, with 2 additional crystals being made upon impact with a boss or champion. Most of the time you'll want to keep your distance behind your barricade, picking off enemies and tossing lances. But keep in mind, while you don't have a towering barricade, you do have a glacial grenade, which shouldn't just be used offensively. With as many crystals as we both make and break, you'll constantly have a glacial grenade, and it can be used to block off enemies for a revive or to simply give the team some breathing room. If you start to get swarmed around your barricade, you can also back up and toss the wall down on your barricade, which will instantly detonate any crystals that come into contact with it. This will most likely clean up the baddies that get too close, but I've also found that if they do survive, there's a good chance they'll just get launched away. Something to do with the amount of explosions the crystals make? I'm not quite sure, but it's hilarious every time it happens. All this, the crystals, the lances, the shards, it all comes together to make a really fun and powerful build with a playstyle that's pretty unique, as you'll be most of the time staying back and supporting the team with some clutch instant freezes and long range damage. This is all done as close to on demand as you can get. No part of this loop requires any kills. Headshots for diamond lances, lances and grenades for crystals, crystals for grenades, shards for surge. This makes for a really great uptime, since regardless of the enemy difficulty or health pool, you can still keep the loop going with only 2 or 3 headshots behind a barricade. It's also extremely flexible as well. My favorite weapon pairing was Revision Zero. It's an absolute powerhouse in its sniper mode, and every time I landed a sniper headshot on a frozen target, I found myself giggling maniacally as the enemies took ludicrous damage. But Revision is not the only weapon that is effective with this build. Any weapon worked great, so just pick your favorite or one that has a corresponding counter champion capability. There's the build. It's extremely fun and unique, and it shows that us Titans can be more than me punch, me hit, me win. I strongly recommend you try this build out, and even swap some things out to make it your own. Everyone plays a little different, so if you have your own twist on the build, let me know. Have fun, and happy lancing.